Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Hi, you guys. So today we are going to meet Miss Gloria Richardson, an unsung civil rights leader of, they call it the South, but it's really the North. But she is from Maryland, and she was the first woman to lead a grassroots civil rights organization, the first woman to lead an organization, period, in the civil rights movement. Ebony magazine dubbed her the Lady General of Civil Rights because she had no problem with throwing them hands, honey bun, and she wasn't scared of any kind of gun, which you will see in a minute. And she led the Cambridge, Maryland Nonviolent Action Committee, called CNAC. That's what I call it from here on out because that's a whole mouthful. Now, Ms. Gloria Richardson was born on May 6, 1922 to John and Mabel Haynes in Baltimore, Maryland. Her family moved to Cambridge, Maryland when she was 6 years old, and that is, fun fact, the same place that Harriet Tubman is from, which you'll see on a mural later. Miss Richardson grew up in a segregated city. The community was literally separated by a street named race. Richardson enrolled in Howard University when she was 16 years old, and she began activism in 1938 in Washington, D.C., where she protested Woolworth's drugstore because they were segregationists, and she also protested conditions in Howard. She graduated in 1942 with a BA in sociology and worked for the federal government during World War II as a social worker. By the end of the war, she had to go back to Cambridge because despite her intelligence, despite her degree, no one would hire her. So she married Mr. Harry Richardson, hence her last name, and he was a school teacher. She became a stay-at-home mom for 13 years. Now, when her daughter was old enough or grew up, she started participating in the civil rights movement, and that caused Miss Richardson to rejoin her civil rights activism. In 1962, Miss Richardson seen here with John Lewis, and that's what made me really research this young lady. I was like, now, I love civil rights stuff, but I've never seen this lady before when I was researching stuff about Mr. John Lewis and the Freedom Riders, and that's when I came across Miss Richardson. So, yeah. But yeah, she's here with John Lewis, and she did join CNAC. She became a executive board member of CNAC, and she went to Howard University's conference, of course, it's in Atlanta, to discuss organizing in the civil rights movement. Now, she took those skills that she got from that conference, and she went home and co-founded the CNAC, and they target segregation and racial inequality in Eastern Shore of Maryland, or specifically the city of Cambridge. The co-founders, the persons who were part of her activism group, they elected her to be a leader of that group, so of CNAC. And it was kind of funny because one person was quoted to Ebony magazine stating that she is a force to be reckoned with, and they literally stated, we cannot do anything with her. Or they said we can't do nothing with her, and we can't do nothing without her. Like, so she was a handful, but she also was a movement within herself. She advocated for not just desegregation, but economic justices, good jobs, housing, schools, and healthcare. She was an early supporter of violence. If they hit you, baby, you hit them back. So this iconic photo went international, became international news when she pushed away a National Guardsman's rifle after the Maryland mayor, Mr. Millard Tawes, had enacted martial law. And so this occurred in the summer of 1963. There was peaceful sit-ins that had turned into violence as white supremacists became upset that there was desegregation activism going on in their state. So Governor Tawes, he declared martial law. And the Cambridge mayor went to Miss Richardson and demanded that the demonstration stop in exchange to end arrest of black protesters. But Miss Richardson was like, baby, miss me. On June 11th, rioting by white supremacists erupted, and Governor Tawes called the National Guard. While the city was under the National Guard's presence, Ms. Richardson met with the U.S. Attorney General. This is Ms. Richardson and Robert Kennedy, who was the U.S. Attorney General at the time, and they discussed what became known as the Treaty of Cambridge. It was a negotiations of equality, not only for racial equality, but also economic equality. And in order for the treaty ordered for equal access to public accommodations in Cambridge in return for 1 year moratorium on demonstrations. So basically a ceasefire of protest. Now, Ms. Richardson, she signed the treaty, but she didn't never say she was going to end those demonstrations. And it wasn't until the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964 that protests resolved in Cambridge. Now, Ms. Richardson led the Cambridge Nonviolent Action Committee, CNAC, for 3 years, and her life was plagued by repeated threats from white supremacists who called her house. And they also did bomb threats. They were shooting in their neighborhoods. And Ms. Richardson, she encouraged protesters to defend themselves with guns. After 2 white men were wounded in a shootout, the governor sent the National Guard in Cambridge area, and they stayed in the city for a year. The National Guard did, because baby, they were like, you nuck, we buck, okay? They weren't here for MLK's nonviolence. And there was a picture with her. Let me see if I can find it. This is a picture of Ms. Richardson with Malcolm X, who is second from the right, and it's nice suit, baby, clean up. Ms. Richardson was the first civil rights leader to work with him, and this is her at a meeting with him in Detroit. So yeah, her and Malcolm X were of the similar minds of, we ain't gonna be turning too many cheeks, baby. Now, Ms. Richardson's daughter told the New York Times later years that it got very scary in their neighborhood during the civil rights movement, that white supremacists threatened them and whites would come into the community shooting, and her mother would just walk right past them. And this is her daughter Debbie, who also inspired her to get back into civil rights activism because her daughter was a part of protest. She was a speaker, or invited speaker anyways, for the March on Washington. She was one of 6 women who were invited as freedom fighters on the program. However, she got to say hello, and then they took that mic from her. Now, I do want to share another photo of her speaking because it was depicted on the mural in her hometown. This is just one of many pictures of Ms. Richardson speaking to the public. Now, she did retire after 3 years in 1964 from the leader of the the CNAC. And she resigned from Maryland. She married someone else. She had divorced her first husband, married a photographer named Frank Dandridge, and they moved to New York, where she lived for the rest of her life. And she did various jobs, including leading the National Council for Negro Women. In 2017, the state of Maryland honored Ms. Richardson's legacy by dedicating February 11th as Gloria Richardson's Day. And Ms. Richardson died on July 1st, 1985 at 99 years old, passing away in her NYC home in her sleep. So a very peaceful end to a very rambunctious woman. You know, as the song says, I'm a moving by myself, but I'm a force and we're together. That was this young lady right here. They described her as militant. Again, she was one of the ones who was welcome Malcolm X with open arms. She was not here for the tomfoolery, and baby, you catch these hands. As a matter of fact, you catch these bullets. Sorry. Not from me, it's from her, because she got her people to get guns, while down there in Southern Mississippi and in Alabama, SNCC was getting their behind beat. She did one protest in Atlanta, and she said, nah, baby, that ain't for us. So shout out to Mrs. Richardson, Gloria Richardson. She is an inspiration, and I wish there were more Black queens like her. And I hopefully will find more unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. I am super mad that I was literally yesterday year old when I found out about Miss Gloria. All right, you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye. And here's the mural in Cambridge, Maryland. It's dedicated to Miss Richardson and also the other Native, Harriet Tubman.